Sam Menendez was a cameraman at Sam went inside, but the pictures showed him just walking. He's got a camera. He's got a camera with him. Yeah, he's acting as a journalist, and they did not send him to jail, but they gave him several months suspended sentence and kind of house arrest for a very long time. I mean, they had him pulling his string for a couple of years there, and he was thinking that he was going to go to jail. And there was absolutely no reason for them to do any of that stuff.
And see what he did to the Proud Boys, and it's like what they made them into, and all the racism. Look at the main person; he's not even white. Hello, and it's like it was a shit show, and it's amazing how they can prosecute patriots and people on the opposite side and the opposition, but they can let Antifa and BLM and the Alphabet Mafia destroy cities nationwide for how long? And how many of them are getting punished or in jail? We got plenty of footage and face recognition to know who did most of that, and it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous what this country's come, and
it's very concerning to see the double standard, to see excessive punishment, and all the rest of this stuff, because these are all aspects of it. And I feel very sorry for the people that were there. I mean, one of the big issues with me was that I kept telling people don't go. I got fired because I was telling people don't go. The guy I was working for was running a big financial thing off of it, and I was telling people don't go. It's a grift. It's going to be a trap, and they're going to use this not only against you, but against the entire conservative movement, and that's exactly what they did.
It's sickening, and I'm scared to see what's going to happen in the upcoming election. They're already initiating the mail-in ballots. They're already trying to get the COVID energy back up and get the masks that do absolutely jack shit going. The same playbook.
Isn't it amazing that they've left the vote by mail stuff in? I call it the mail-out ballot election. I think it's amazing that they left that in. When everybody was talking about election corruption, I said, wait a minute. I've been in this for 35 years. I've been involved in this. Third parties. I was involved in the Libertarian Party of North Carolina. And I said, the rigging of the election begins with who gets on the ballot and who gets into the debates. And then it just keeps getting worse. You got so many different levels of this, and everybody's focused on one or two voting machine companies. It's like this whole thing is so rigged. And just take a look at what's happening now. Neither Trump nor Biden wants to do any debates. And so, and you have this, you got RFK Jr. is going to run as an independent now. I don't know if he's going to be able to get on the ballot. That's a big task. Getting on the ballot.
I hope he don't even remotely get close, because I couldn't stand hearing his voice for 4 years. He sounds like a speak and spell on me, and there's no way I can deal with that. I couldn't deal with it.
I tell you, every one of these people, it doesn't matter who they are, which party they are, after 4 years, they all have a really grating voice, don't they? I mean, it's like the guest that will not leave, after about it starts to smell like a rotten fish.
Oh yeah, demons. It'll take long for them to onboarding for the evil to occur.
I'm trying to figure out a creative way to segue into our topic, which is cannibalism. I think we've gone swerved off to the right a little bit, but I guess you've done a lot on UFOs and everything else. You had to have heard your fair share of cannibalism stories, famous and maybe not so famous. You got any good ones for us?
Me? Well, I don't know. I mean, my cannibalism story, I guess, is more than once, and I think we're not the only people who do that. We go into, book a restaurant, book a table, they ask for a name, and tell them Donner. So then they announce, Donner party of 4, and it's like, that's us, we're starving.
That would be great. I bet the faces when that happens.
Well, how many people would actually get it?
That's it. A lot of people don't.
Probably a lot of the older people, gentlemen, I'm sure.
If you did it in Nevada or Northern California, I think they might get it. If you did it down here in Florida, then they'd be like, okay, what do you want?
California don't even know what genital organ is underneath their underwear. And they ain't gonna know what the hell the Donner Party is. They're gonna think it's just a mountain or something. Oh, but Donner is up in the mountains. We go by the lake up there and go skiing. That's all they're gonna know.
Well, you know what? We do have a story about that area of our family. We had a last-minute vacation that we booked around Thanksgiving. I forget what year it was, but our boys are still pretty young. And so we went up to the Tahoe area, the Reno area and everything, where the Donner Party thing is. And we had a great time. There was some snow up there. We took them on snowmobiles, and they were so small we just put them in front of us. And then we left, and it was just before Thanksgiving. And they had a massive snowstorm that hit. People died. You know, it was such a massive snowstorm. We would have been stuck there for another week if we hadn't got out of there. So they still have that kind of weather that comes by there every once in a while. But it was really cool. We really enjoyed it. I especially enjoyed it because it was like being on a movie set in the sense that I had watched all these years growing up. I had watched Bonanza, and they filmed it up there, and they actually did have like a Ponderosa thing there for a while that the stars were involved with. But even without that, just looking around at the terrain, it was like, wow, it's so familiar, you know, I've never been here before.
Isn't Lake Tahoe beautiful?
Yeah.
I used to work in Sacramento and Rockland, California, and then I'd have to go over to Sparks, Nevada to an office that the company I was working for out there. And in the wintertime, you always have to chain up, which means luckily there's guys on either side that if you can pay $20 to put the chains on, and another $10 to take them off on the other side. Because I actually stopped to try to get a cell signal right at the top of Donner Summit in the middle of storm and snow and all that. I've never felt cold like that before. He got out of the car, got right back in the car. I don't care about the phone call anymore. Just gotta get the hell out off that mountain.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
It's there's a story. I'm sure you're familiar with John Sutter, the Sutter's Fort in Sacramento.
No.
Sutter. Yeah.
He's the founder of modern day Sacramento. He was a Dutch settler that came over and started a fort that's still there. People can go to this day and visit it. They do all the time. But there was a party, not the Donner Party, but another party that was coming across Immigrant Gap and across the summit, and they got stranded. And word had gotten to Sacramento to the fort there, and so he sent 2 scouts, Native American young men that had worked for him, and he sent them up to try to help these people and get them off the mountain. And they were gone for about 2 weeks, and the party eventually did make its way to Sutter's Fort. And he asked them what happened to the 2 guides that I sent up with you, along with the mules and everything else. And they're like, well, they got there and they helped us, and we were out of food. So first we ate their mules, and then we ate them.
Wow.
And
he started with their butt cheeks.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that back then that they didn't consider Native Americans even human or barely human kind of thing. So when they had to decide who they were going to eat first, it definitely wasn't going to be a fellow white man. It was going to be one of the natives. And that's not the only case of it. The only thing with like scalping, everybody, all the movies that we grew up with have the Native Americans doing the scalping. The fact is that it was the white people who did 99% of the scalping, so much so that there was a quote in the late 1800s that the walls of London are literally decorated with Native American scalps. It was like the biggest export we had was Native American scalps, and the people in England were buying them like crazy to decorate their homes with.
Wow.
It's creepy stuff. Not necessarily cannibalism, but a trophy.
Yeah. Well, cannibalism, I guess another vacation story we have with cannibalism tangential to it. Karen and I went to New Zealand, and down there, the Maori, where, of course, they ate Captain Cook. I guess they cooked Cook. Unless they had him raw. I don't know. They would...
Sushi.
Yeah, his first lieutenant was sushi. But anyway, they had a really, you look at the relationship that they had with the Maoris, and now you still see it, they were heavily into tattoos, and they do that dance, for the soccer players.
War dance, yeah.
They put out the war dance, and they stick their tongue out and that kind of thing. But they were really difficult for the British to handle. Because, and it wasn't really the cannibalism aspect of it, but it was the fact that they had earthen forts, and the bombardments didn't really help with that. You're there in North Carolina, Tully, and Fort Fisher, that's on the coast. They had, prior to World War I, it took World War I to get beyond the amount of bombardment that they did against Fort Fisher during the Civil War, and were not able to take it out because it's an earthen fort. You know, if you got a fort that's built out of stone and other things like that, you can take it down with artillery. But if it's an earthen fort, it just, you know, you hit it with everything, it doesn't go down.
Yeah.
So they had a hard time with their forts, and then when they got in close contact, the Maori were smart enough they could figure out how to use the weapons that they captured back against the British as well. So it is kind of interesting. Most of the people there in New Zealand are very proud to trace their heritage back to the Maori in some way, shape.
Have you seen the tattooed heads that they have on display there? Those are highly collectible too. I mean, they still do the face tattoos to this day, but I guess apparently the Europeans like collecting mummies. They were collecting those heads, and now they want them all returned. And which
it's gotten interesting.
in some way it's understandable, but in another way, from like a science, an archaeological point of view, I think sometimes things like that do belong in museums. There's a lot of archaeological digs here in the United States that have been stopped and not permitted to go any further. Bodies that have been returned to the earth, no study at all even allowed because they're considered sacred. In fact, I've heard you can't even dig for, like my great-grandfather used to dig for arrowheads and things like that. That's all illegal now.
Really? Well, it's too bad, Indiana Jones.
I mean, suppose you left King Tut's tomb completely undiscovered. Then we wouldn't know just how incredibly, powerful or rich, at least in gold, that the pharaohs were. And he was he was a small pharaoh, historically speaking. So, I don't know. I think the whole idea of honoring the dead and honoring these bodies, I know it's very cultural and it's different to different, cultures, but I think, from a scientific point of view, I think it's not only stupid, but it kind of hurts the quest for knowledge.
Well, we live in a society that doesn't really want a quest for knowledge anymore, right? We want to dumb everything down, and everybody's afraid that somebody's feelings are going to get hurt. So
you're so right about that.
Well, we're 30 minutes in, so it's time to go ahead and go to the round table with Paul Dale Roberts. Dave and I go ahead and join us, and we're going to further the cannibalism discussion, and we got a little video about it. Have a little fun with everybody, and we'll roll into the second half hour. And we'll be right back.
Welcome to the round table with Paul Dale Roberts. Ladies and gentlemen, Paul Dale Roberts.
Go ahead, Paul.
Hey, David Knight. Welcome to the round table. Okay, I got a real night here. Hey, I just have to let you know, and I've already told this story 100 times, so I'll just keep down short. But I was a 97 Bravo intelligence analyst in the U.S. Army, and over in Korea, I discovered that military intelligence was studying UFOs, UAPs, whatever you want to call them, when 6 photographs came in, and there were different type of UFOs, and it was taken by our reconnaissance satellites and reconnaissance aircraft. So military intelligence was recognizing this phenomenon, and when I was there, I saw those photographs, gave it a number, and gave it to the DIA, Defense Intelligence Agency. So, yeah.
Introduce our video.
why do you think that they want, why is it that they covered it up for so long and now they're pushing it so hard? What do you think is up?
I think it's getting very close to disclosure, and plus you have all these private companies and everything else, Elon Musk and everything else, when they're sending their vehicles out in the outer space, and when they land on the moon, when they see some artificial structures, the word's going to be out. So I think the government realizes, with all these private corporations and everything else, in China, Russia, probably sending something out to Mars and everything else, the word is going to go out that we're not alone.
Paul, cut to the video.
Okay.
Okay, video. introduce the video.
Okay.
They can't hear us.
Okay, well, let me introduce everybody on the round table. I got Lady Amy Miller. I got Leatherface, the Executioner, El Guapo, Tristan Macy, Purple Sticky, David Knight, the Real Knight, and Terry the Taint, Butt Pirate. So, and our...
We'll be back after this commercial, after this video.
Okay. And I guess there's some kind of video coming up.
Here we go.
Okay.
Okay, so according to the Wheel of Doom, tonight's subject is cannibalism. Y'all know when crazy, weird people decide they want to... Cannibalism isn't taboo in many countries, it's what's for dinner. That's why you should just stay where you belong and don't go anywhere where you will just end up getting served as a dish. Tonight on the round table.
Alright, take it away, Paul. We're back.
All right. Well, before we go through the round table, I want to just mention the Donner Party. I did an investigation over there because they saw a phantom caravan, and they believed that was the Donner Party. So I was there at the site. Michael Rockefeller, there was some headhunting and cannibalism by the natives where he was at New Guinea, and supposedly Michael Rockefeller was eaten by cannibals. So I talked to El Guapo, and he has something about kissing cannibals. So I'm going to let El Guapo take it away on those kissing cannibals.
Let's hear this one.
Well, they say kissing is a throwback to cannibalism. The very act of kissing, the whole history of it is a throwback to when we actually ate each other type thing. Some cultures, kissing was just, like strictly forbidden. Not every culture kisses. And the whole thing about Eskimo kisses with the nose thing, that's actually New Zealand, the Maori, which our guest was talking about earlier. But like in Thailand, for example, even to this day, kissing really isn't a big thing amongst the Thai people. And for a while, it was considered forbidden, like kissing, like cannibalism, rather. The other thing I thought was interesting along the lines of Michael Rockefeller and the people of Papua New Guinea is that there's a disease called the Kuru disease that was passed on strictly from cannibalism. Because in their culture, they didn't just go out and hunt people to eat. They would actually eat their own family relatives who have died. But the only people who ate those relatives were women. The men would never eat them, and the men and women lived separately. So this Kuru disease was found to only be within women or children up to about 8 years old. And when they started to actually do studies to figure out what was causing it, first they thought it was genetics, then eventually it came down to a protein, a twisted protein that was carried over from the dead bodies. And the reason why only women and children were getting it is because the children up until about 8 or 10 years old would stay with the mother. And the women were the ones who would eat the dead because they were the ones who were considered powerful enough to contain a malignant spirit. And by eating the flesh, they would do it. And the reason why they wanted to eat the flesh was because they thought it was a more respectful thing to do than put your family member into the ground where worms could eat them, or put them above the ground where birds or other animals could eat them. So by eating them themselves, there was a way to respect the dead. Unfortunately, this disease started getting passed around, and I think the last confirmed case was somewhere in the early 2000s.
Let me eat your AIDS. Come here.
That's when I found it. But yeah, lots of interesting stuff with cannibalism.
Wow.
That's interesting.
That's
I
amazing.
thought Eskimos don't really do Eskimo kisses because their snot will freeze together.
Yeah,
That's what
probably happened.
that's what I asked asking buddy told me.
And you were mentioning Thailand. Well, this is me in Thailand. And I heard a cannibal story while I was there. The cannibal story was this family was so poor and hungry, they ate their dogs. Then they ate some rats.
Did that anyway.
And then they ate their 2 children. So cannibalism.
That escalated quickly. We're gonna eat the dogs, we're gonna eat the rats, and we're just gonna go right for the children.
They saved their children for less.
Has anybody heard of Rick Gibson? A guy named Rick Gibson?
No.
He's a performance artist from the UK. In 1988, he ate someone's tonsils who were donated, part of a performance art thing, and then a year later, in 1989, he ate somebody's testicle.
Oh my God!
And he's not the only one to do it. There's some other person, I can't think of the name now, who actually had a portion of their stomach wall or flesh around their stomach surgically removed, and they cooked it up on television and actually ate their own flesh. So it's supposed to be stunned. But
what was up with that guy who put an ad on like Craigslist and they're trying to find someone to be a victim to him, and some guy happily accepted? What was that?
Yeah, he did time for that. He went to jail for it. Somebody did volunteer, and they met, and they actually he ended up cutting the other man's penis off and then cooking it. Apparently, it was terrible. Wasn't good at all. But there is a guy.
Kind of gamey.
It was.
No, said it was like apparently it was just like with the beef. You can't just like kill a cow and start eating it. I mean, you could like the lions do, but it's really not good that way. You want to do is you want to age beef.
So if you cut off someone's penis and you cook it and you eat it, does that make you gay?
I don't know. Maybe just hungry.
I had to ask, like, well, I'm curious.
Gristle.
I mean, you're eating it for, whatever reason you're eating it for, but is it that wouldn't be homosexual, would it? If you were just eating a penis for real,
I mean, if it's a matter of starvation, it's just survival, right?
That's really a questionable one there. David's probably just like, oh my God, what did I just come on?
In South America, the word that they use for human flesh is long pig, because apparently, like they think the closest meat comparison to human flesh is pig. So human they call long pig before they can consume it.
Wow.
But there was a guy, a journalist named William Seabrook, who is pretty famous. He died in 1945, but he was famous for eating human flesh, and he compared the meat to veal. He said the closest possible meat to human flesh is veal, and apparently he really liked it. It had a great description of how tasty human flesh is.
Oh my God.
Hannibal Lecter.
Hannibal Lecter, yeah.
Yeah.
Did you see that cooking show? To where they were cooking stuff and people had to guess what it was. And he gave it 3 options. It was this, or human flesh, and they was kind of laughing. And it ended up being human flesh that he was cooking with. So everybody actually ate human flesh on the show.
Is this a movie or a real show?
No, it was a real, like, a reality cooking show.
Fear Factor from hell, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and they're like, okay, so what was it? So, it was human. And he's always, no problem, let's keep cooking some more. And they're like, are you fucking kidding me?
Did everybody start throwing up, or what?
One chick put a napkin in her mouth and ran away. Another guy was sitting there shaking his head. And they weren't too happy about it.
Yeah, I think
that's kind of disgusting.
I think Terry the Taint Buck Pirate has a cannibal story. Terry, you want to take it away?
No.
Terry?
Go ahead, Terry. Terry?
I don't think Terry can hear us.
Oh well.
He's just.
How about
I think I muted him earlier.
Okay. How about Tristan Macy? Do you have a cannibal?
I don't have a story about this shit. This is disgusting.
Oh, you love it. I like it.
Okay.
Yeah, have you heard about that incident that happened on the Greyhound bus a few years back where the guy...
Oh, yeah, in Canada. That guy, they said he was a Wendigo. And he cut off the guy's head, was eating his heart on the bus. All the people on the bus were just puking every place. Yeah, that was crazy.
And nobody stopped it. This is how fucked up Canada is with their fucking law enforcement. Is they figured the guy was already dead, so they didn't bother trying to storm the bus or shooting this piece of shit who was just completely this poor innocent kid who's like 18 years old, traveling home to see his parents on holiday, and this crazy piece of shit killed him, like you said, cut his head off, started eating him on the bus. Everybody obviously runs off of the bus. They shut the bus door, and the cops are watching it happen through the window, and they figure, well, he's dead already. There's nothing we can do.
And he's a free man. He's a free man now. He's walking the streets. Yeah.
I think Terry was talking earlier about that case in Japan. There's a very famous Japanese cannibal. I don't know his name, but he was a student in France in, I think, the 1970s, and he actually murdered a female student that was in school with him at this art school, shot her with a .22, ate part of her body. They arrested him in France, another country that's way too light on crime, and they released him. They sent him back to Japan because they didn't want to deal with him. Well, Japan is so screwed up that they didn't prosecute him at all, and this son of a bitch has been free for the past 30-something years. And not only that, he's a celebrity. They make comic books about this guy.
Oh.
People come up to the street and want selfies with this piece of shit.
Oh my God. And
Any questions for David? He's here all quiet, just taking in. He's like, where am I? Where am I at?
What have I done? Where am I?
I've got something I can chip in here. You know, you're talking about diseases coming from cannibalism, and of course we know the cows. If you feed cows, other cows, they get mad cow disease, and if humans eat that, they get Yakov Creutzfeldt, I think is what it is.